Guys, what is up? Today we are comparing head-to-head the BluGuitar Iridium and the BluGuitar Mercury, and we are going to hear where are the similarities, where are the differences, how do these two amps compare, all that good stuff. And I've got each of these amps hooked into the KHE amp switcher going into the Splawn 412. I have got all of the controls all at noon, and the controls on the side of the amp, all of those are in the exact same place. The boost is in the exact same place. Everything is as equal as I can get it, so we're going to hear exactly how these two amps sound compared to each other. So let's go ahead and get started here. Also on the amp switcher, amp number 1 is the Iridium and amp number 2 is the Mercury. And I've got a camera over there so you can see exactly which one is which, and I will have a little annotation on the screen so you can see exactly which amp is being played at any given time. Okay, now I bumped the gain on the Mercury up just a little bit and raised the treble up a little bit as well to try and get it a little closer to how the modern mode on the Iridium sounds, because I feel like that's the modern mode between these two amps. I feel like that's kind of where the biggest gap in just the sonic footprint is, but bumping up the gain and the treble gets it a lot closer, so let's check that out. All right, I'm back on the classic mode on each amp, and again, I've made a couple of slight little tweaks here on the Mercury to see how close I can get it to sounding to the Iridium there. So let's go ahead and hear the Iridium first. All right, lastly, I'm on the vintage mode of each amp, and again, I've made some tweaks on each one to kind of how I like it to sound, and let's just hear how they compare. All right, well, what do you guys think? I'm impressed with both amps, and I like that each one has its own unique voice. And I think that although this one over here, the Iridium, has a lot more available gain on tap, it's not aggressive in a way that the Mercury can't sort of keep up with in its own unique way of being more raw and a little bit more like rough around the edges, but not in a bad way, if that makes any sense. I mean, this is voiced like kind of like an old Marshall, and that's just sort of how those amps roll. They're rough around the edges, they're rowdy, the structure of those amps, when you really push them hard to where they really sound good, they're very unrefined and just they're almost just unhinged in a way that if you crank a plexi and you've got it right there in that awesome, just blowing your pants leg type volume, it sounds like it's going to explode. It sounds like the amp is about to melt. And that kind of unhinged nature of that sound and that character is a huge appeal of those amps. And that's the vibe that I get from this when you compare it to the more refined and a little bit smoother overall sound of the Iridium. But the Iridium does hit a lot harder. It has a much tighter impact to the sound, and it punches a little harder on that immediate note attack. But in terms of just which one can dish up a lot of gain, like they're both equally capable amps. The Mercury obviously is, with its vintage roots, it has a little bit less overall across the different channels. You can see I've got the gain here, it's at 8 and this one's like at 6, and these controls are extremely sensitive. Little adjustments go a long way with these amps. So I do like the fact that this one can kind of keep up in terms of the gain up until a certain point. If you're looking for metal, like heavy metal, death metal, things like that, thrash, you can probably play a little bit of thrash on this. I don't know, might need to ask Kyle Bull about that one. But if you want just extreme high gain amounts of gain there, the Iridium, it definitely takes the lead. But again, for what I play, both of these have plenty of gain, and both of them sound awesome in their own unique way. All right, that is going to wrap up this video. One last big shout out to Thomas Blug for sending me these two amps on loaner to try out here in the studio, take them on stage, and then to show them off to you guys. I really enjoyed my time with each of these. It's hard to pick a favorite. It's kind of like picking, you know, which of your two kids do you like the best. Each one is awesome in its own unique way, and I feel like if I had to choose, maybe the Iridium, but I think they're both absolutely incredible, incredible sounding amps, and they can cover a ton of range for tons of different genres. Obviously the Mercury over here, much better suited for blues, classic rock, things like that. 80s, 90s, the hair metal thing, it does that really well. And then this thing just goes into the stratosphere with the gain and the power and the punch and just the aggression of it. So yeah, two amazing amps. I really enjoyed my time with these, and I will have affiliate links down there in the description to Zound's website. If you want to pick up one of these and try it for yourself, you can use those links. They don't cost you guys anything extra, but they do help support what I do here on the channel to make all this stuff happen. So yeah, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.